Good evening, one and all. Welcome along to Season 3, Episode 23 of the UK Dallas Cowboys Fan Club. It's a nice intimate chat this evening between myself and Graham. Jamie is off watching some crap football team. Paul is still lost somewhere in the wilds of Texas. Rich and Mike are lost in the valleys, and Lauren is actually sick, so he wasn't available. But Graham, how are things? How was your Thanksgiving weekend?
Is Jamie watching the Eagles?
I don't know. I don't know. He rang me at 6 o'clock and told me he was on his way to some great stadium. And he tried to show me. It didn't look like AT&T or DK, or so. You know, it's I don't know where he is, but it's great to see, folks. Thanks as always. Everyone is getting their comments in already. So Benny tuned in from Corpus Christi. We have Joe tuned in from Italy. Andrew, where are you actually tuned in from? Because I never know this. I assume Andrew is Scottish, but I'm probably very wrong. And we've had a few comments in even before the show. Joseph, Roger Goodell has the refs screwing the Cowboys. So, you know, folks, make sure and get your comments in. As we say, it's only myself and Graham tonight. So get as much content in. Any questions you want to us, studs and duds, let us know your thoughts. It's 5 days removed, but I'm sure it's still fresh in the memory of everybody. So we'll come together, we'll all heal as a collective and take it from there. And Andrew is from Weymouth.
Right, so that's not Scotland.
That's not Scotland. No.
Yeah. The listeners they'll be able to tell that we're kind of skirting around the fact of delving into the game, and it's just it was frustrating. It was we were always in the game. But it just now it just seems to be that we can't get both sides of the ball clicking in the same game. Sometimes our defense is keeping us in the game, and we're able to stay in the fight at least till the fourth quarter. So other times, I mean, the Raiders having 200-yard receivers, Deshaun Jackson being one of them. I mean, come on, that's painful. I mean, Deshaun Jackson is the definition of a journeyman now. He'll basically play for whoever's willing to give him a helmet. So our run game was non-existent despite 33 points. An awful lot on Dak, and it's just it's frustrating because at home on Thanksgiving against a team with a 5-5 record, you would expect us to come out with a win. The only real saving grace, I suppose, is that the NFC East is not challenging. I mean, you're going to get the odd win from Washington. The Giants have got their own issues. The Eagles have issues on offense, on defense. They have rookie wide receivers slamming their helmets into the turf because their quarterback can't get it to them when they're open. I mean, Smith is wasted in Philadelphia. Really, he really is. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we haven't managed to get the win, and it's a little bit concerning because we're at the end of November and we've still got another 5-6 weeks till the postseason. But these wins and losses count. I mean, it's looking more and more like we're going to have to go to somewhere like Lambeau Field in January, which is concerning. It's rocky road just now. It really is. Yeah,
that's it. Andrew telling us that Washington have a tough next 5 games. They do seem to have a tough 5 games coming up, but I mean, let's be honest. This season is going to be defined by how the teams play against each other in the NFC East. I think we've only played one game. 5 of our last 6 are against teams from the NFC East. So, if we can't beat those teams, we don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
But see, this is the thing. I think we will. I think we will, despite our ailments, despite having issues on one side of the ball to the other. I still think we're a far better football team than the other 3. I mean, it might be a little bit far-sighted of me, but I'm tending to look towards who else we might get still, despite another tough loss. And it was a tough loss because that game could have gone either way. That game was a goalpost away from being a win. If that field goal goes in, it's a win. It's as simple as that. But despite another loss, I still have no concerns over the division. I still expect us to win the division. I still expect a home game in the first round of the playoffs, and we'll probably, the way it's going right now, we'll probably be in the wild card game. The Packers are a juggernaut just now. They really are. They don't seem to have the injuries that we do. They've got Smith back. Not Smith. They've got Rodgers. Adams back. They've got Adams back. Rodgers is dealing with a broken pinky toe, but that's no great deal. A couple of injections will cure that. So tough loss, but I'm really not that downbeat. Ask me again at the end of December.
I think it was a game that we were never out of contention. But I'm going to pick you up on something there that you said that the Raiders had 2 100-yard receivers. Did you forget to include Anthony Brown as their third 100-yard receiver?
Oh, this has been a sore issue. I mean, you've got to cut that out. You've simply got to cut that out because that will kill you in the playoffs. Teams will capitalize on that. You cannot afford to give Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers good field position simply off of penalties. It was really, really bad. I mean, if it's not Brown, then it's somebody else. Just now, it's ill discipline. It's ill discipline is what it is. But the Raiders had 14 penalties as well. Just looking at the stats, 14 penalties each, but ours seemed to hurt an awful lot more. In terms of time of possession, the Raiders had the ball for nearly 40 minutes away from home. That's bad. That's bad.
Yeah, I think the killer was that every one of Anthony Brown's penalties was a third down. And we were getting off the field, and he extended it. And I think at least 2 of them resulted in scores. One definitely resulted in a touchdown, and I'm pretty sure another one resulted in a field goal. And then obviously the last one resulted in the walk-off field goal in extra time, overtime. So, it's as you said, we were never out of the game, but I just wasn't confident we were going to win it either.
They're momentum killers. You think you've got a team to a punt situation or a field goal situation, and then there's a hold or a PI or a false start or something along those lines, and it changes momentum. It's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating because we've been dealing with Connor Williams was the penalty machine, and this week it was Brown. I mean that's a strong comment from Joe, but you can't have that. I'm all maybe not cutting him, but I would certainly let him spend some time on the bench almost like a kind of, this is not acceptable. I mean, obviously it doesn't help that with Kelvin Joseph has something. We're not quite sure what it is, but there's something not quite right with Kelvin Joseph. So obviously that's your second round pick not playing. So that's one off the list straight away. I mean, I don't know about you, Brian, but I like, even if you just watch the highlight reel on NFL.com, the amount of open targets that they were able to find. I mean, like, go on NFL.com and pause when a Raiders receiver makes a catch. There's nobody anywhere near him. Now that might just be the highlight reel, but they're the big plays that kill you.
I mean, I think Dan Quinn, he's more of a bend don't break type defensive system, so he's allowing that, say, 5 or 6 yard cushion. But I remember it happened at least 3 or 4 times when I was watching the game. Was guys just were turned on routes and cutbacks, and our guy was 5 yards away, and it wasn't close. Like, I think when I was doing the stats there was only 2 passes defended in the whole game. 2. That's just, it's ridiculous. We've a question here from Andrew, and it does lead us into our news, so I'm just going to pull it up there. Coop, CD, and D-Law all back this week. It does look positive that we will have all 3 back, and we're going to need all 3.
I wouldn't be so sure on Cooper. Last I heard, it was still to be determined. It would be nice to actually get Randy Gregory and Tank Lawrence on the same field. That would be good. I mean, getting Cooper back and getting Lamb back, but we still managed 375 yards through the air. It's not like we couldn't get the ball moving. We scored 33 points. That 2 touchdowns, just looking at the box score, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's good football. That, if you told me that kind of stat, I would have said, the Cowboys won that game. And it just simply wasn't the case. I might have been a bit harsh on the run game, but that's what happens when you go a couple of scores behind. You have to abandon the run and get things moving quickly. Which again, if you get things moving quickly, it probably leads to a score, but it also leads to a low time of possession. I mean, like I said before, the Raiders 40 minutes on the field on offense. I mean, do you take that into account that our defense was gassed? They were maybe they were run off the field. I
mean, I'm looking at the stats here. 77 tackles. That's I mean, that's not sustainable, and especially given the injuries we have. But I think before we go much further, I think we'll flick it over into the news segment, and we'll kind of pick this up in a wee bit. So, as Andrew was saying, and we made the point that it looks like we might get D-Law and Coop and CD back. Coop will be a game day decision. They'll make a call on that tomorrow. But, I mean, we can't go much further without stating Mike McCarthy's out for Thursday. Dan Quinn is taking over head coaching responsibilities. Yeah. And we've multiple position coaches who are also down. So COVID is running through the camp.
Well, at least I think to my knowledge, we've still got all 3 coordinators. Is that right?
Yeah. We've Dak, or not Dak, Dan. We've Dan Quinn, Kellen, and Bones, and we also have our assistant head coach, whose name escapes me.
I mean,
at least we have that.
That's just the days that we live in. Do we know McCarthy's vaccine status? I would imagine he's vaccinated.
I was watching the break earlier today, and the comment going out of the show, I think it was from Derek or from Nick, was saying that every from Jerry Jones was everyone is fully vaccinated, even if they just have the antibodies in their system to fight to fight it. So
heard that before.
Yeah. So I mean, like, what's stunning to me, and I know we'll get into this again just in a second, is, guys aren't being vaccinated and are not being punished for it. Like, Aaron Rodgers not vaccinated and was fined 14 grand, was it?
According to NFL.com, Mike McCarthy is vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that opens things up a little bit. I mean, basically, McCarthy is he must have COVID, but as soon as he tests negative, he can come back into like, he doesn't have to do the 10-game kind of lockdown, 10-day lockdown, which helps massively. I mean, it's a bit close for Thursday night, but that's just the day. It's just the day and age we live in. They talk about next man up.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to have to be the attitude. Dan Quinn has head coaching experience. Kellen Moore can run the offense. So this is why you bring in assistants and you bring in 2 coordinators and so on. So if we've got all 3 coordinators, they can make up for positional coaches being out. I think they might have to do things a little bit quicker and a little bit shorter, but it could be worse. It could be Dak.
Yeah,
it could be worse.
And I mean, as far as some people are concerned, I mean, it's Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore that are winning these games for us. Mike McCarthy has no say in how the team performs at all.
Yeah, we could do a podcast of its own on that one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I've said many times before, McCarthy and Moore are handcuffed. Yeah. Because if McCarthy has a poor season, Kellen Moore ran the offense during that poor season. If McCarthy has a great season, why are you getting rid of him?
Yeah.
This is what I don't get. I mean, this whole like Kellen Moore's the next head coach type idea. Can you imagine that got out? Can you imagine the reaction?
Yeah.
I think Mike McCarthy would quit straight away. I mean, who does that? Who stays in the job with their successor standing next to them? Their well-known successor. I mean, say they have offered Moore the head coaching job. Does that make him bulletproof? Could the Cowboys run a shutout on offense, and Moore's quite easy with it because he knows he's the next head coach? It's all media talk. I think it's a load of nonsense. But yeah, like I say, it could have been Dak, it could have been Tyron Smith, it could have been one of our cornerstones. So you might see a little bit of poor clock management, but wouldn't be the first time. Let's face it.
Just a little point here. I'm just going to pull it up from DJ Dog. The officiating crew 9-2 in favor of the road teams. That says a lot.
I mean, it's
but I mean, it's not false. I mean, what were they saying? That crew gives an average of 15 penalties a game and 170 yards in penalty yards. I mean, it's.
I keep going back to a point that I heard Jeff Reinbold make on the NFL Sky Sports podcast, and he said, "Play better than the refs ref." Anthony Brown gave a referee an opportunity to call his 100 yards.
Yeah.
If they are picking on Brown, play clean. Don't touch, don't grab, don't push. Play clean. If they've got their eye on you, which they clearly did, you've got to smarten up to that. You can't just, that's me got my pass interference call. They won't call it again. No, that's not how it works. Brown should have realised at some point that he was hurting his team and his defence, and it simply did not happen. He had a rough night, and I'm surprised he wasn't benched. To be perfectly honest, I don't think he was benched.
I think it was simply we didn't have the cornerback depth, because Jordan Lewis had an abysmal game as well. And who could you turn to? CJ Goodwin, special teams guy, really. Calvin Joseph had been ejected, so there was no depth on the bench to bring anybody in. But
I mean, you go and spend 2 draft picks on cornerbacks. You bring in how many safeties? How many? Maybe not a cornerback, but you bring in defensive backs, and you're still left short. I mean, they draft well, but you've got to ask the question. Where is our depth? I thought we'd addressed this. Weeks ago, we were singing the praises of the safety position, and just going by the score, it let us down.
Yeah. I think on Thursday we only had 5 inactives. It was 3 inactive because we had already picked 2 players down for COVID. And I think Mukwamu, one of the 3 corners we picked up in the draft, was one of the inactives. Calvin Joseph was ejected, and Nashawn Wright we still don't know. He was like Morris Kennedy in camp. He was a great camp body, but we've heard nothing since. But I'm just bringing up another one there. So, hey, Paul, absolutely make sure and get your comments in, and good afternoon where you are, sir. DJ Dog brings up a point here on the Darren Waller fumble. What was the explanation for overturning it? So they didn't actually overturn that decision. They called it incomplete on the field, and when they went to review it, they claimed he did not make a football move. So, I mean, I think this just feeds into the whole thing. Nobody knows what a catch is anymore.
No. See this football move. It really, really gets under my skin.
Yeah.
I don't see why they can't simply say, if the ball touches the ground, it's incomplete.
Yeah.
If the ball doesn't touch the ground, it's not incomplete, and go from there. Now, I get the whole a receiver catches the ball, turns, and fumbles. They need to decide if it's a fumble or not, but they've got to draw the line somewhere. I mean, they go to somebody like Fox, they'll go to their guy in New York, and they'll say to him, "What did you make of this?" And everybody's got their own opinion of it. It's not like it's opinions. It's not set rules. I mean, they call it a football move. I would love the league or an official to explain what is a football move.
So Andrew's brought it up there that he took 3 steps. So from my understanding of it is that you must take 3 steps before the ball can become active. So I think he caught the ball, he took 1 step, a second step, and as he was about to take the third, the peanut punch came in, I can't remember, was it Lewis or one of the other corners who made the bean-up punch, and Neil obviously managed to get it back into play. But I mean, this was the thing, as you say, it's opinions. Like someone, I think they went to Gene Steratore, and Gene said he hadn't made the football move, he hadn't made the 3 steps. So if Gene Steratore, who is a former official, can't make that call, who can? Why is there no definition?
I go back a long time ago to the Des catch.
Yeah.
Now, exactly, Andrew, if reaching for the end zone isn't a football move, I'm not sure what is.
Yeah.
I'm really not sure what is. I mean, literally trying to score. If that's not a football move, then who knows? Yeah. Who knows? I mean, it's almost as if they enjoy the limelight.
Yeah.
The officiating is just getting a bit of a hard time just now. But I go back to my original point. Play better than the ref's ref. And Anthony Brown should be better than that.
Yeah.
The comment from DJ Dog, just for the audio listeners, also Pollard gets hit out of bounds and the referee grabs his flag but did not throw it. I mean, that's a change of opinion. Was he waiting for somebody else to throw it?
That's the thing.
I mean, I'd love to know who decides what's challengeable and what isn't. Because you only get, is it 2 challenges you get in the entire game?
It's 1 challenge in each half. But if your challenge is successful, you maintain your challenge. So,
but I agree with that, because obviously if it's right, then you were right to do it, and you should get that win back. I don't understand why they can't make. I mean, I know they're concerned about the length of the game, but it's 3 hours. Why can they not just get everything right? Why can they not let coaches have the opportunity to get things right? You only get one, and if you're wrong, you get it taken off of you, and you lose your time out. So it's pricey. They don't just throw flags for the sake of it. But I mean, you'll know yourself, and the viewers will know themselves, the amount of times you've been watching a game, and the official has to explain to the head coach of that team, you can't challenge that. It's almost as if the head coaches don't know. It's strange. I mean, I think there's. I might be being cynical, but there's a small part of me that makes me think that the league enjoy it.
Yeah.
Did you see that catch? Did you see that late hit? Did you see that thing that wasn't challenged? It's almost as if they're picking up likes, shares, and tweets for that kind of stuff. But that's me being cynical. I mean, it's not like the league to get something wrong, is it?
Never. They'd never do that. But following on from, you kind of mentioned the point a few minutes ago about next man up. So obviously Tristan Hill has now been suspended for 2 games for punching a Raiders player at the end of the game. Again, feeds into the whole thing of inconsistencies. Kadarius Toney throws a punch during a game, gets a fine. Tristan Hill throws a punch, gets a 2-game suspension. I mean, what differentiates between them? I mean, it's and the next point then is, as bad as that is, we've also just lost Brent Urban for the season. He's gone. He's down. He's had season-ending injury. So our defensive tackle depth is.
Said of loads of times on the show, there is no consistency. They take each situation, and I mean, I want to say judge it, but they basically like, there doesn't seem to be a set kind of procedure. I mean, I don't know who decides what, but it's so frustrating. I mean, we could go on all night about this was called, that wasn't called, this was suspended for this, but he only got a $10,000 fine for that. The bottom line is, don't do it. Just don't do it. I mean, it's not difficult to be a model player. I mean, how often have you seen Dak Prescott throw a punch, or get caught with a DUI, or get caught with something in his glove box, or I could go on and on and on. Just simply just don't do it.
Yeah. I mean,
Justin Hill. I mean, he's not even a starter, and we're talking about him.
And let's not forget, this was our effectively our first pick in the 2019 draft, because we traded our first rounder for
Cooper,
Mari Cooper, and this guy was taken. Was he taken over Joanne Thornhill? I think it might have been that draft. I'm not 100% sure, but we had other needs, and this was a Rod Marinelli orphan that had been kicked off the UCF team, a team that had gone undefeated in 2018. He was kicked off the team, brought back for the bowl game, and blew up the bowl game. And Rod Marinelli liked him and wanted to bring him in. And, look, I'm not going to question the guy's character. I don't know what he's like. But from what I've seen, the production is just not there from him. I know.
No.
And I'm not having to go with Jay Tuck. I saw a tweet from Jay Tuck earlier in the day, that he doesn't have the numbers, but that's not his position. And that is fair comment. But, I mean, in terms of a second-round pick who is not a starter in his third season, that to me just says he's not good enough, and we now need to move on. I think I made the comment earlier. It's Taco Charlton 2.0.
I mean, I just don't understand why players on the bubble do these kind of things. If you're the 50th, 51st, 52nd, 53rd player on the roster, you keep your nose clean, because they are looking for an excuse to move on from you. I mean, they're never going to move on. I mean, see if it was a starter gets so much more leeway than a rotational player. I mean, the stats, he's had 15 tackles in his career. I mean, for a second round pick, that's not good enough. I mean, I get that maybe that's not his job. He's to fill a gap and let others make the play. But I mean, it's not as if our run game's been watertight for the past 3 years. He's played 15 games in his career. Again, some because of injury, some because, I mean, I think, to be fair, a lot because of injury. But he's got an injury history. He's just got a 2-game suspension. I mean, when do you start looking around the practice squads to bring a trouble-free alternative in? I mean, if you get a suspension like that for defending a teammate, fine, I can live with that. But this was after the game.
It was premeditated.
I mean, it's just frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating on top of a frustrating game. I get he was angry. Fine.
Yeah.
Go and punch go and punch a bag in a gym for an hour.
Yeah.
You won't get a 2-game suspension for that. I mean, if he was baited into it, fine, but aren't all linemen baited into? I mean, I'd love to hear some audio from a trench in one game. I bet it's enough to make your blood boil.
I would imagine there would be. It would very much be bleep 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 bleep.
Yeah. Bleep 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 your mother. Bleep 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 your sister or whatever. Like, it just. Yeah, and do it was more ill discipline whether it's suspensions or over 100 yards personally and penalties. Just frustrating.
Yeah. The other points there rolling through. So we've had a couple of players move on to the COVID list. So we've Terence Steele out for this week's game. Nishan Wright is out. And Zeke Elliott is also playing through an injury and has been since the start of November. So I mean, I know I said this beforehand. We're going to talk a bit of O-line on the offensive side of things. But Zeke Elliott, what are your thoughts? Should he sit out tomorrow's game or Thursday night's game in the hope of he'll then have 10 days effectively to get ready for the Washington football team?
I mean, if you're going to rest him, then okay, but I would rather rest him against somebody else than playing the Saints in New Orleans. I mean, if there's anything that quiets a crowd, it's a running game. I mean, to do it off the back of a nine carries, 25 yards, fair enough, he scored a touchdown. But I mean, if he's gonna turn in a performance like that because of the knee, then fair enough, sit him. Because there's nothing worse than playing him through December, and then before you know it, he pulls something or tears something, and you've lost him for January. So if he's struggling, wouldn't you rather rest him against Washington? Almost slipped up there. Wouldn't you rather risk him? Wouldn't you rather sit him against Washington than the Saints? But again, he's human, and if he needs to rest, then he needs to rest. It kind of limits what we can do on the ground, I think, because they've clearly told Dak not to be the free-flowing Dak Prescott that we all love, because I mean, one carry for 3 yards. He's not gonna. He's clearly being told not to scramble. We need you for the long haul, basically. Is Tony Pollard a 3-down back? No.
No.
Do you know? I couldn't even tell you who comes in after that.
Corey Clement, who again, I think he's more of a change of pace back.
Oh yeah, he's not.
He's Tony Pollard. Do you know?
He's not a banger.
No.
You know he's not like. I've seen him a bit for play for the Giants a few times. Was it the Giants or the Eagles?
He played for that team and then he went to the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean,
if Zeke's injured, then he's injured. But the one way to quiet the crowd in New Orleans is the run game. The one way to sustain a lead is the run game. Do I trust Pollard with 20, 25 carries? No. No. It's as simple as that.
No, definitely not.
Which means then you need to ask Dak to do more. But again, on the other hand, sit him now and play him in January. I think we'd all sign up. We'd all sign up for that. So if they have to do it, then they have to do it. Yeah.
And Joe, we did have a look. We did talk about this earlier. So is Cooper playing Thursday? As far as we're aware, Amari Cooper will be a decision tomorrow. He will need to have practice before the team flies to New Orleans and pass a physical. So he will need that's the situation. And then rather see Dak start scrambling like he did before the injury, because he's more dangerous when he does, instead of just sitting back in the pocket getting sacked. I agree to a point with you, Joe, and I think you'd say same here on this, Graham. But let's not forget we're paying Dak Prescott 140 million. We've paid 75 million this year. Do you really want to have your franchise quarterback going down? Is the question.
I would agree with Joe prior to the injury. I mean, we all saw the way the wheels came off the cart last year, with questionable offensive line play just now and backup wide receivers. Do you really want to throw Dak on the scrap heap as well? I agree. To add scrambling to his game, it makes him so much more lethal. But I still want to see Dak playing in January. They have that. I mean, if Dak Prescott goes down, it's finished. That's moving the ball on the ground is what your running game's for. Some teams play with it. Some teams, like the Cardinals, they'll let Murray scramble. I mean, you saw Cam Newton scramble for years and years and years. Where is he now? He's a dud. He's playing in Carolina simply because Sam Darnold is struggling now. For a long time, scrambling quarterbacks were the bee's knees. I mean, you could write them off. Robert Griffin. Where is Robert Griffin now? I think he's a backup for the Ravens. Last I saw.
He might even be third choice for the Ravens because I know Tyler Huntley started the game that Lamar Jackson was missing for.
It's scrambling quarterbacks are almost as dead as the Wildcat.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. I mean, there's a few. There's the two scrambling quarterbacks that come to mind are Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray.
Oh.
There aren't that many
don't
left.
Mention those names from trash schools, but that's a whole other story. Teams know that Dak won't scramble, so he's a sitting duck back there, can still get hurt. Yeah, again, I accept the point there on that, Joe, and maybe, look, it wouldn't be a harm in 1 or 2 or 3 instances during the game where he takes the ball and rolls out a little bit. And maybe like that, you're not sure what he's going to do. You know, just that there is that little bit of unpredictability about it. DJ Dog brings up the point: if Cooper and Zeke play this Thursday, it'll be the first game the entire starting offense will start a game together this season. So, without further ado, we're going to roll into the offensive side of the ball. Graham, I said we would talk about this before we went live on air.
Yeah.
And as DJ Dog said, it'll be the first game the entire starting offense will start together this season. I don't think we even know what our starting offensive line is anymore.
That was certainly
Smith
what
and Zach Martin. I don't know.
I mean, that's a great stat, but who is our starting left guard?
Yeah, who's our starting right tackle?
I mean, I think judging by the depth chart, it would be Collins. It would be Collins and Williams at left guard, with Collins at right tackle. But yeah, it's I mean, a message when the news broke in our chat that Terence Steele was out for the game. I messaged Rich and I said to him, "Rich, it's time to get the old rhetoric out again."
Yeah,
we've been enjoying it. We've been enjoying the offensive line for a few weeks now, but Tyron Smith ailments.
Yeah,
Collins, naughty boy. Williams is a turnover machine. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
I mean, like I shared the clip in our private chat. There was one clip of Tyron Smith doing the rounds on Twitter. The ball snap. No, I mean you've reacted, Brian. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The ball snaps. He looks at his defensive end and turns inside. I can't remember who the end is, but the end thinks Christmas has come early and has a free run at Dak, and you're thinking, Tyron, now is not the time for a brain fart. It's really not. It. I mean, for the audio again, DJ Jog brings up the he would go back to Williams at left guard. There's been a few questionable games from Williams, I'm afraid. There's a saying in the UK, he's a turnstile because he spins and people walk past him. And if he does manage to get past you, he'll probably hold on to you. So that's either a sack or a penalty. I mean, people that want Connor Williams back in, go and watch the Patriots game. Go and see how close we came to a loss against the Patriots. Because Connor Williams did his very, very best to turn that into an L. Andrew just bringing up the point there, Steele is out. Yep. So we've lost on top of all of that, we've lost our swing tackle. Give credit where credit's due. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Because this is the problem, and I said this, like, I think it was you, Graham, that sent into the group in the middle of the game. It was the child with the arms out blowing that gif, and like it, and I think Rich was saying, you know, like, hold me, and you know, it's I kind of said it's a time that we broke down this offensive line and rebuilt it, because bar Zach Martin, as you said it for 3 years we've been doing this show, you're not going to get 16 or 17 games out of Tyron Smith every year. We don't know who's starting as our left guard. Our centre, I have huge question marks over. And we don't know who our starting right tackle is. Like, apart from Zach Martin, we're a mess along that offensive line.
There's, like you say, there's only one of them going to the Pro Bowl. Think how many times the Cowboys sent 3 offensive linemen to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Simply because the offense was the Cowboys. The offensive line was the Cowboys' offense. Like we go back to the point of Prescott having to scramble. In 2016, Dak had, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds to get rid of the ball on most occasions. And what do you know? We end up, the record was it 12-4?
It was 12-4, 13-3, but yeah, it was one off.
You know, like, is it coincidence that Zeke is injured? I don't think so. You know, I get that the body breaks down after such intense punishment, but is his offensive line the same? Absolutely not. It just seemed to break down one piece at a time. Collins has definitely regressed. They waited on Williams, and they waited and they waited and they waited, and finally, thankfully, they've benched him. But they've benched him because they want to go with somebody else. It wasn't. I don't think McGovern won the job. I think Williams lost it. To be perfectly honest, I think they just got fed up with the holding calls. And I called it at the start of the season. I said Tyron Smith will end up with an injury sooner or later, and there you go. And I get it. It's not like one of the standard injuries, but still, he's still missed time, and we've still to go through December. Think how many Northeast games we've got coming up in December.
We have to go to New York. We have to go to Washington.
Cold.
We have to go to that city in Pennsylvania.
Cold.
And if by chance you get through the wild card round, you then have to go to Wisconsin.
Cold. So
yeah,
the body doesn't get better in the cold; it gets worse. I mean, I let it slide. I let it slide because they were doing so well, and I thought I need to cut them a break because they are doing well. But I think I'm going to have to slip back into my old ways. I mean, I haven't followed Rashawn Slater's career so far, but I mean, imagine upgrading the left guard from Connor Williams to Rashawn Slater. I mean, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You can only supplement one position, with a first round pick, but
it's been too long.
It has been too long, and they've tried to bring in second and later. I mean, I know I keep saying the same thing, but if you're an offensive lineman and you fall down the draft, there's something wrong with your technique or your height, weight, speed, your injury history.
Yeah,
that you've got to go and get linemen in the first round. I mean, the other guy we targeted, Quinn Miners, the centre. I don't know if has he had a big impact for.
I don't think he has.
He hasn't.
I was on record as saying he is a guy who will be serviceable, and that will be it. I know Paul was massively on the Quinn Miners train, but I just didn't buy the hype, and I still don't buy the hype. Now, maybe he can prove me wrong, but let's not forget, as you said, he was a third round pick. He went at either 99 or 100. So he's not really that upper echelon that we spoke about.
No.
But one thing I want to touch on, and this has been a bugbear of mine for the last 4 years, is we've brought in a swing tackle every year. Cam Irving, Cam Fleming, Ty Nasiki, and they've all ended up injured. Continually bloody injured. I'd say if anyone saw our group chat, I think you guys must all be sick of me at this stage saying who I want in the first round of the draft this year. I'm on record. It's the 30th of November, and as of right now, I want the pick to be Tyler Linderbaum, center out of Iowa. If it's not him, get me a damn offensive tackle, because we need to fix this. As you kind of said, Graham, about Zeke's body is breaking down. His body is breaking down because he's having to pick up blitzes from defensive ends, defensive tackles, and linebackers. That is not what your $90 million running back is there for. He is there to win you games, not protect your quarterback. It's, the decision making has been up and down for the last couple of years, and they've not reinforced, and it's time. Our last first round pick was Zach Martin, and it was in 2014. We need to focus on the O-line from here.
I mean, like the Micah Parsons pick was a tremendous pick, and I applaud them for it. The CD Lamb pick was a tremendous pick, and again, I applaud them for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I always use the analogy: there's no point in putting a Lamborghini in the driveway if the foundations of your house are falling down.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys' offense is built on the offensive line, and we've plastered over cracks. We have not taken replacements. We've seen guys deteriorate or leave down to injury, and we've tried to supplement it. We have not replaced it, hoping that these guys get over whatever it was that made them fall to day two. And to my knowledge, none of them have done it. McGovern, Williams, Biadish is playing because there's nobody else.
Yeah.
McGovern is playing because there's nobody else.
Yeah.
I mean, how long did we hear that McGovern was taking snaps at centre? Did he ever play
so was
centre?
Williams.
He
did. He played as a centre in college, for Penn State. But
no, I mean for the Cowboys.
No, not for the Cowboys. No.
So
I just want to bring up this point here from DJ Dog. Usually it takes an offensive lineman this one off season to get strong enough to be consistent in the NFL. Yes, it absolutely does. But if you look over the past 10 years, the standout offensive linemen have all been taken in the first round. They were all identified coming out of college. So if you look at Zach Martin, Quentin Nelson, Tyron Smith, who else am I thinking of? Penny Sewell. These guys were all identified coming out of college. Tristan Wirfs last season. And these guys are in the discussion for the best players at their position. You can't fix this line with taking shots. And Joe's supporting that point in terms of we need to look for a replacement for Tyron in the draft or free agency.
Yeah, but
Graham, you're on record for 2 years with this.
Yeah, the problem with free agency is that good offensive tackles do not hit free agency.
Nope.
They hit free agency because they're declining players. If you're starting a football team from fresh, your first pick is a quarterback or a left tackle.
Yeah.
And there aren't 32 left tackles to go around. Thankfully, when he's on the field, we've got one of the best. And I criticised him a little bit for that strange decision, shall we say, but he is still one of the best when he's on the field.
Yeah.
If you're picking up a left tackle in free agency, the team he was on have basically said, you're not worth 15, 16, 17 million dollars. The draft is where you get your tackles, and everybody knows it, and that's why the best ones fly off the board in the top 15 because there aren't enough to go around. They're like quarterbacks. If you've got a good one, you're on to a winner. But if you're constantly trying to find one, your quarterback isn't going to get 3 seconds to throw the ball.
Yeah. Like again, DJ Dog is making the point, we're fortunate our scouts have found first round picks who could step in and play as rookie offensive linemen. I would counter that and it slightly and say, let's not forget Tyron Smith was the 11th pick in his draft class. Zach Martin was the 16th pick in his class. And I think we did get fortunate with that, with Travis Frederick, who was 31st pick in his draft class. So again, they were high picks. So
I wouldn't say fortunate with Frederick. They went after Frederick, they stuck to their guns, and they got a hell of a lot of criticism on NFL Network, but they took their shot. They said Travis Frederick is a first round pick, and he was effectively top. I mean, talent wise, he's a top 5 pick. I mean, think of the criticism they got on draft night, but what a career he had. I mean, I agree with DJ Dog there, because they hit on pretty much every first round pick. Barring Taco Charlton, it was the Charlton pick was almost like, right, who are we going to go with here? I remember it well. It was basically like, I think their options has gone off the board. They probably didn't get a good offer, and they thought, we need to do something here, and they went defensive end. And we all know the rest. But I think that the rhetoric is that they hit on first round picks, and what an injection of youth and talent would do to that offensive line would be tremendous.
Andrew, I just want to come back to this point. Andrew has brought this up a couple of times. Bring him back. Travis Frederick will not be coming back. Travis Frederick is back, living in Wisconsin. I believe he's dropped between 50 and 75 pounds of weight at this stage. He's a slim man. He has Guillain-Barre's syndrome, and that is quite debilitating. Unfortunately, we will not see Travis Frederick back on the field, and we just wish him a healthy life, because he's got to deal with Guillain-Barre for the rest of his life. Now, DJ Dog does make a good point here in terms of the Giants have picked a couple of left tackles in Flowers and Andrew Thomas. I wouldn't use the Giants as any kind of an example of an organisation to draft. Like, they've drafted Saquon Barkley at number 2. They drafted Danny Dimes. They've drafted, as you say, Trey Flowers. They've drafted Andrew Thomas. They've drafted Evan Ingram. They drafted Kadarius Toney. None of these guys are standout players on their first round picks. You know, so
I mean,
I get where you're coming from, but it's not comparing apples to apples.
It's with the 2 tackles, they, to be fair, they were projected as first round picks. But that doesn't mean you need to take them. I mean, we could do a whole show on first round busts. There
will be a lot of Giants and Pennsylvania busts in that realm. Like, it's the one thing I would give Washington a lot of credit for. They nearly always seem to hit on their first round pick, but they always seem to go defensive line.
Straight off the bat, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz are now playing for different teams. You know, the first and second off the board. I mean, I get that it's not a stick on, that taking a first round pick is going to play out, but you can only take what you see. You can only do your homework, and luckily we have guys that can do their homework very, very well. And are paid accordingly.
And I think, to be fair to DJ Dog, he is making the point there that it's never a sure thing, and that is the thing that we always say. It is a lottery, and you have to do your evaluations. As you said, there was 3 guys. There was Andrew Thomas, Tristan Wirfs, and I cannot remember the other 2 guys now at the minute. But you're right. There was the 4 of them together in the 2020 draft, and I think most people had Andrew Thomas as the lowest ranked of the 4, and the Giants seemed to take him with the 4th pick. And everyone was kind of like, ooh, because most people expected them to pick Tristan Wirfs.
I mean, I do agree that it's not a stick on, but at least put your put your capital where it's least risk. You know, like if you have if your scouts tell you it's this guy's a first round pick, his measurables are first round, his tape is first round, he plays offensive tackle. That's a much better option to go for than a guy with 2 red flags on his sheet. You know, like if all the signs are good, take the player. But picking in the second, third, and fourth round, you're going to have a red flag from day one. At least your red flag isn't staring you in the face if you take a first round offensive tackle. You know the tape, the homework, the measurables. If they're all green, take them in the first round. I just think they have to roll. They have to spend capital. They have to roll the dice on an offensive lineman, because certainly my understanding of it is that if you take a offensive lineman day 2, day 3, there's an issue.
Yeah. Graham, I'm surprised that you, Digidog, has come back to us and said the big tackle from Louisville, Mekhi Becton. How did we forget Mekhi Becton?
Don't bring him up, Brian. You know as well as I do. I wanted Mekhi Becton.
Yeah,
I wanted him, and he went to New York, and it's a shame. It's a shame because there's only so much you can do. You know, there's every chance that they'll be taken first overall again. So
So we're nearly an hour and 10 minutes in. I thought we were going to have the show done before 10 o'clock, but we'll flip it over.
Do we have to?
I think, look, we've flogged Anthony Brown to death at this stage. We're not going to go back over that ground. But, I mean, the defense in the last couple of weeks just seems to have regressed a little bit. You touched on it earlier. The safety play hasn't been good. The turnovers haven't been there that we were getting earlier in the season. You know, I mean, the linebacker play hasn't been good. I mean, is there anything there? Or what's happening?
It's almost as if the form is wearing off in alignment with some injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, to lose Gregory at some point, to lose Tank, all of a sudden you go thin at cornerback. You've got suspension issues at defensive line. I mean, the only player I would say that's been flawless in the past fortnight is Micah Parsons. And newsflash, he's the rookie. So, I mean, like the rookies have no off season, and it worries me a little bit that the guy who's had no off season is the one that's producing in November. The turnovers have dried up a little bit. You know, it's almost as if they're leaning on Parsons, they're leaning on Diggs, to make something happen. I mean, to hold the Chiefs to 19 points.
Yeah.
I mean, any team should be happy with that. 3 scores, 3 touchdowns wins you that game. That's totally acceptable. This is when I go back to one side of the ball plays well, the other one falls over. So Cowboys going to score 9 points in that game. Game later, we're putting 33, or lighting up the scoreboard, scoring 33 points, and our defense doesn't hold up. Complementary football gets you far in the postseason, and that's what we're missing at the moment. It's complementary football. Again, asking Dak to do too much. I mean, DJ Dog brings up the point there. He did cause that, but he's the rookie. Anthony Brown is the seasoned professional, and you can forgive Parsons. Like he's also saying, Parsons has been good and he has been clutch. At the start of before the start of the season, I predicted that Parsons would be our sack leader for the season, and he's well down the road to fulfilling that. I criticised not taking an offensive tackle, but more than happy with the Parsons pick, the way it's turned out. It's just it's not synced up at the moment, and that's where our problems are coming from. I'm looking at the box score. I mean, we got 3 sacks.
3 sacks, yeah. 2 passes defended, 7 QB pressures, and Parsons had 5 of those.
Again, he's the rookie. Yeah, I get he's a talented player, but you've got to help him out.
I mean, the guy is breaking records every single week. I mean, his tackle for loss numbers are the highest ever by a defensive rookie. He's had the most sacks by a Cowboys rookie since DeMarcus Ware, and he's now surpassed DeMarcus Ware. I saw it over the weekend, and it's not rhetoric. This guy should be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, definitely.
He's been playing a hybrid defensive end linebacker role and has excelled at both. But the cast is not there around him.
I think he's stick on for defensive rookie. He's in the conversation for overall. DJ Dog again, just agreeing with me. Thanks for the comments. A vet like Anthony Brown, I mean, you would think after his second foul, I'm going to ease up, but it just kept happening, and momentum killer. He's the big earner. I think I just want to bring that up again. He's the highest paid cornerback. When you talk about, he effectively should be the leader in that defensive backs room, because everybody else is either a rookie or on a 1-year deal. They've been brought in because somebody else said they're not good enough, and they've done well. They've come in and produced, but Anthony Brown has been there so long. He's the highest earner. He's a starter. It's not a good example. It's really not. And I hope that's being drummed into him. I hope that's being drummed in, because you cannot do that and expect to go into the postseason.
Like what upsets me more than anything is McCarthy seems to have no problem disciplining Lyle Collins for being out injured all of last season and being suspended for 5 games this year. And Lyle, yes, he's in the second contract, but there doesn't seem to be that same strictness on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, if someone costs you 4 defensive pass interference penalties, all on 3rd down and resulting in a 1st down, and gives up nearly 100 yards in penalties, like, they should be cut before they're off the field. And he's still there.
it's almost as if Brown knows how important he is.
Yeah.
To replace Anthony Brown, you're pulling somebody off a practice squad because the trade deadline has passed. So it's almost as if, I mean, I don't want to do him a disservice, but it's almost lazy play. It's almost as if I'm a starter for the Cowboys on defense. Who's going to replace me?
Yeah.
Joe, I totally agree. I think certainly in terms of his just for the audio again, Anthony Brown will be playing for his job on Thursday. I certainly hope that's the case. But the problem is, who do you replace him with? Mayshawn Wright is in COVID protocol. Kelvin Joseph has. I mean, if anybody can shed any light, let us know. But as far as I know, it's not an injury. It's not a personal. It's not a personal thing. I really don't know what it is. I mean, I totally agree that it should be Joseph, but is he going to be in the building? Is he? Is he going to be available? Do you move a safety down into a corner position? I mean, certainly there's depth at safety.
Like they've played a lot of three safety sets this year. Surely they can't do worse than put Jordan Lewis on the outside. But then Jordan Lewis doesn't have the speed. And I think this is kind of where the problem stems from, and it might have gotten into Anthony Brown's head, is that according to PFF, Anthony Brown is our highest ranked corner. And
right,
I've told you numerous times. Ruins the game.
I've told you numerous times before, do not bring PFF up in my company.
Yeah.
I couldn't trust PFF as far as I could throw it.
Yeah. I asked Mike for the PFF grades before we came on. Our highest ranked defensive player, according to PFF, on Thursday was Tristan Hill.
Prosecution rests. I mean, that's that. Just take that one line. Yeah. Just stop there. Yeah. I mean, really, Tristan Hill had four tackles, one assist. Tackles. Yeah. Did they consider Micah Parsons with 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and 4 tackles?
5 quarterback pressures.
No, they didn't consider that. No, they went with Tristan Hill. I mean, if I had any doubts about PFF, that's just hammered in the final nail in the coffin for me. That's ridiculous. That's utter stupidity. That's
true.
I mean, just looking at the depth chart, I mean, did they not draft Mukuamu as a corner? Could he be the alternative?
See, Mukuamu, they didn't suit up during the week, and they're still not sure if Mukuamu is a safety or a corner. And to be going into the season, as we say, they had 11 draft picks last year, and they spent 4 on defensive backs. Kelvin Joseph has rarely seen the field this season. Mayshawn Wright hasn't really seen the field. Mukuamu, we've seen nothing of. And there is another one. I know there was another one. But, that doesn't help us when we knew going into the season that we had Trayvon Diggs, who we didn't know was going to be the breakout star that he was this year, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, and CJ Goodwin.
So that just reinforces my point. You've got Mukuamu, who doesn't have pads on. You've got Nashon Wright, who has COVID. You've got
Yeah.
Kelvin Joseph, who isn't available. Let's say that, who isn't available. No wonder Anthony Brown feels like king of the castle, because who's going to take his jersey? Who's going to take his starting position? I mean, do you try? You couldn't play. I'm just looking at the safety backups. You couldn't play Hooker there. Hooker's been hot and cold. Wilson's on IR.
Yeah.
Maurice Canada's on IR.
Yeah. I think
I'm going by the ESPN depth chart.
Yeah. DJ Doug brought it up there that Kazee has experience at cornerback, so maybe you could play him, but would he be more of a slot corner rather than an outside corner? Because you have to remember that's Anthony Brown's position is as an outside corner rather than a slot or centre field corner. So you don't seem to have a like for like replacement who is there on the squad for him.
But in saying all this, we're bashing into them, and I don't want to step on the toes of Thursday night show. Look who we have coming down the road on Thursday, and Trevor Siemian,
Taysom Hill.
So they're not. Let's be kind. They're not starters. So we'll see if the Connors can bounce back. A statement game from Anthony Brown would be nice. A little pick six would be even nicer. I mean, he's getting all the hot press just now, or the bad press. You can only imagine the words Dan Quinn had for him. And Quinn will be head coach on Thursday, so hopefully Brown's had a good week at practice, because, like I said before, he's the highest earner. And when you look to get under the cap, Anthony Brown's one of the first players you look at. So
it's very expendable.
Hopefully it's a return for Anthony Brown, a statement game. It couldn't get any worse, put it that way.
No. Before we do get out of here, we can't leave this game without discussing Greg Zerline. Missed extra point. Special teams, missed 2-point conversion. Greg Zerline also had a missed field goal from, was it 59 yards or something like that?
Yeah.
And I saw RJ had a piece on this, that in every other game, Zerline has missed a kick of importance. And that his kicking rate is lower than Brett Maher's.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, it's frustrating for fans, because kickers literally have one job to do.
Andrew said that.
They don't tackle. They don't block. They don't run downfield or they shouldn't be running downfield on kickoffs. They literally have to step onto the field, kick it through the uprights, and be the hero. And the problem that Greg Zerline's having just now is there's a miss in him sooner or later. I mean, I've been guilty of it in the past, where you go, well, if he nails that field goal, we win the game. If he nails that extra point, we win the game. And I just think sometimes I'm a little too quick to do it. I mean, it was almost a 60-yard kick. Let's not forget that. And he hit the upright. Imagine the deviation, how small the deviation is in the ball at the point of attack. For the ball to travel 60 yards, I mean, you're talking maybe half a mil. I mean, if he moves his foot half a millimeter to the left, that goes through the uprights. I mean, that's how tight we're talking about. But again, he's well paid.
Yeah.
He is well paid, and it is a fact that even if he made that extra point, we win the game. He missed an extra point. He missed a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
There's your 4 points.
Yeah.
So that changes the loss into the win. But I feel sometimes it's too easy to say that, because if he makes that field goal, it changes the Raiders' decision.
Yeah.
You know, they maybe don't go for the field goal. They go for it in fourth down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it doesn't really matter that he made the field goal.
Yeah.
But RJ's point is valid, because if we're 2 points behind in the championship game with 30 seconds left to go on the 30-yard line, I don't know about you, Brian, but I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Because there's every chance that he misses it.
Yeah, and this is what the knock-on effect of that first missed point was. We then chased a 2-point conversion later on in the game. If you kick the first one, you're not going for a 2-point conversion. You're kicking the second one, and that's 2 points, and that's your victory. Now, as you say, it affects what the Raiders do and affects how we do things later in the game. And it's that thing of momentum in a game, is that, you know, the Raiders went straight down the field, bomb to Deshaun Jackson, he's in for a touchdown. We get a possession, go down, get a touchdown, and you're going, great. You miss the extra point, and suddenly it's deflation, and we're chasing the game.
You brought up Brett Maher at the start of the segment. What are the odds that he scores the winner on Thursday night for the
Wouldn't
Saints?
it be poetic justice?
I mean, can you not just see it in the stars? Can you not just see it? The ghost of kickers past.
Yeah.
I mean, Maher was another one. Maher was I remember very, very well criticising Maher for being the guy that would nail the 55-yarder and miss the extra point.
Yep.
I mean, I think Jamie made the point on the show a few weeks ago that more and more extra points are being missed, simply because they've moved it back. It's now 25 yards away. So,
but
Joe, that's a great point. Joe brings up the point that he missed the field goal that could have won the game against the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champions, week 1.
Yeah.
I mean, they only come on the field to do one job, but that job is so important. It really is. And that's why they get paid millions of dollars to do it. And I suppose the bottom line is that Zerloin didn't do it.
Yeah. And let's not forget, was it 2-3 weeks ago? It was the Falcons game, I believe, that we brought in Lareem Hajrulahu. Kicked every extra point, kicked his field goals. Cowboys won, no questions.
I mean,
and that guy's kicking his heels with Jeff Reinebold.
I mean, you look at that and you go, what more did you want him to do? Did you want him to go in and do you want him to go down in 3rd and goal as well and and be the lead blocker? You know, it's tough. It is tough. Yeah. I mean, you go from the guy that you pull off the street to back to one of the Greg the Leg.
Yeah.
And Greg the Leg does or couldn't do what the guy off the street did. It's frustrating. But
Dan Bailey is still a free agent.
I said that last week. Yep, I remember very, very clearly. But again, that's what makes it so infuriating for fans, because they run onto the field expected to do one job, and before you know it, the goalpost is vibrating and momentum goes, and Yeah. It's quite strange when you consider the amount of guys on the street. I mean, all you have to do is go into the NFL Fantasy app and go to kickers and see the guys that are on the street, because you'll know most of them.
Yeah.
You'll know most of them. It's a form position, and I don't think Zurloin has lived up to his compensation in terms of salary.
And there's a lot of guys around the league who have been with the Cowboys at various stages over the last few years. Mm-hmm. You've Tristan Vizcaino is with the Chargers. You've Brett Maher with the Saints.
Nick Folk,
Kai Forbat.
Yep.
Nick Folk with Patriots. Kai Forbat, I think, is still in the league. So it was a Bones Fassel pickup, absolutely, but maybe Bones needs to be told, you're not the head coach.
I mean, I go back to the point I bring up several times. Why isn't he a Ram?
Yeah.
I mean, did the Cowboys outbid the Rams for Greg Zuerlein? No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, we didn't, because we didn't have the money to at the time. The Rams moved on from Greg Zuerlein. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line with 80% of free agents, that you consider them not worth what they want. That's why they become free agents. You don't let stars walk out the door. You keep stars. It's I mean, especially when you consider that. I mean, consider how many NFL games are decided by one score. Across the league, it's so tight from the bottom to the top. Anybody can beat anybody on their given day. It highlights how important kicking is. And when we've got a guy kicking 75% of his points, they're gonna have to look at it sooner or later.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I think it might be too late when it happens, and it will cost us another game or two. But it is 25-11 here in the UK and Ireland. And as I said to Graham earlier, I didn't expect to go this long, but I think before we get out of here, we better pay the bills as always, Graham. So if you want to give the sponsor shout out.
Well, we saw that Paul met up with Barry during the week. Extremely jealous of my Scottish brother. If folks, if you're planning to go to a game at AT&T, if you're planning to wish the team well before they head off to Wisconsin in January, make sure you do it with Cowboys Experience. They treat you like absolute royalty, and you simply have to enter the discount code UK Cowboys. And Brian knows just as well as everybody else. What do you get, Brian?
Chocolate pudding.
You get chocolate pudding. You get free stuff.
There we go. We'll allow Andrew the last words on it. Don't be silly.
Yes, Andrew. Yeah, Andrew knows.
Stuff. Andrew knows well. He's given us a prediction for Thursday's game. Andrew, I'll take 11-10. But as we also always say, make sure and give our fellow Cowboys content creators a follow. As we say, Cowboys Experience their own social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then all of the Dallas Cowboys media. So you have The Break, Talking Cowboys, Hanging with the Boys, and then of course the guys like Tuck, Jeff Reinebold, Marcus and Brandon, Law Nation, Big Game James, Katie's Fun Tweets. Give all those guys a follow. The content they put out is second to none, and they're great supporters of ours and make themselves available to us at all times. So give them a follow. Are you on the pre-game show on Thursday night, Graham, or will you be taking a break?
Well, we'll see what the injury report looks like on Thursday morning. As far as I know, Lauren is questionable to return.
Yeah.
Jamie Smith might be in concussion protocol after tonight. you never know. So we'll see if I get dragged off the bench on Thursday night. We'll soon find out.
And Paul Stewart might dial in from the Superdome to join us.
The only problem is we won't be able to hear him because it's so loud in there.
But yeah, look, as always, the guys will be along at 9 o'clock UK and Ireland time on Thursday evening. That'll be 4 o'clock on the East Coast, 3 o'clock Texas time, and 1 o'clock on the West Coast. So make sure and tune in and get your Saints and Cowboys build up to the performance. From me, it's a good night, and thank you all.
See you next time, and go Cowboys.
Good night.